AITA for turning down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle. I, 27F, have chosen to walk down the aisle alone on my wedding day. The decision was made for two reasons. My dad died when I was 7 and he would be my number one choice if he were alive, but he's not, and 2. My mom has made it perfectly clear that she would find it disrespectful to my stepdad if she walked me down the aisle, and so would not do it. Given that both my parents are out and I don't want to ask my paternal grandparents to do too much. My grandma and I are already sharing a special dance. Walking alone is what I feel the most comfortable doing. I could ask my stepdad, and even when I contemplated my decision, I knew he would want to do it. But it would make me sad to have him walk me instead of my dad. If I'm honest, I think my stepdad is a good man and he has tried his very best to be a dad for me. But I didn't want a dad when I lost mine. I wanted my dad. Nobody else was ever going to be able to fill that role in my heart. I asked my mom and stepdad if they would like to do a joint toast or two separate ones, and whether they would like to walk down the aisle, dance to specific songs. While discussing this, my stepdad asked who I would be walking with, and I told him I was walking alone. He offered to do it and I said it was a lovely offer, but I would walk alone. He pressed me on why, and I said it felt like the best option. He said it would mean the world to him if he could do it. If just once he could feel like he's a real dad and not just second place to my dad. I told him I understood, but it was not an option on the table. He said he was already being shamed by having to watch me dance with my grandma when it should be a father-daughter dance. But to have everyone watch me walk alone when they know I have a stepdad is going to send a very big message. I know people will ask about details on our relationship, etc. I met my stepdad when I was 9 and he married my mom when I was 10. He offered to adopt me and give me his last name, and I turned him down 5 times in the 8 years I lived with them. He was married before my mom and he lost his wife and unborn baby in an accident. He was also made sterile by the same accident. He always longed to be a dad. We got along well, but our relationship was always more to him than it was to me. Where he sees a daughter and wants a daughter. I see a good man and someone who is a great spouse to my mom and is good to me, but does not fill the father role he wants to emotionally for me. Physically, he did, but emotionally I never felt like he was my dad, and everyone in our lives is aware that I feel as though I have one dad and my stepdad is my stepdad. My mom and stepdad are not paying or contributing to the wedding in any way. My fiancé and I both have savings and we're putting those into the wedding. Though our wedding will be smallish since we want to prioritize other things. My mom and stepdad say I am rude and heartless for turning down the offer. AITA? NTA. The only rude ones are your mom and stepdad. While I can definitely sympathize with him, he is making your wedding about himself. He may be a good man, but he's definitely very selfish in this particular case. Stand your ground. It is your wedding. Your dad must have been amazing, and I am sure he'll want you to be happy on that day. And every other day. Being a step-parent is truly a thankless job. You're NTA, but I really feel for your stepdad. Nah. Can you do anything to acknowledge your stepdad at the wedding? A special dance? A toast? Have him read a poem? I don't know, but something to acknowledge his role in your life for years and that he tried his best? Nah, but this post, I will be honest, shows once again why step-parents don't like to invest emotionally in stepchildren. What does it mean that he physically filled his role as stepfather but not emotionally? NTA. But I feel really sorry for your stepdad. NTA. I was in a similar boat when I was younger. I don't have a good relationship with my biological father, but my stepfather is a wonderful man. When him and my mother married, they gave me the option to take his last name. I currently have my mother's last name. I said I needed time to think. He took me aside afterwards and told me, "No matter what name you want, I will always be there for you if you need me." It has been nearly 20 years since they married. This Father's Day was the first I ever rang him unprompted to say thank you and that I had caught the Pokemon he wanted in the newest game that he couldn't catch so we could trade. It took us more than 2 decades for him to take the role of father in my heart. And not once did he ever try to pressure me into it. I empathize with the feeling of no one being able to ever fill the role of father. Our circumstances differ in that mine understood the patience needed to overcome that barrier. I heard him cry for the first time on that call. Not only because for the first time I reached out to him, but also because he has never felt the connection to his own father to do that also. It is obvious yours also harbors some pain, but you are not the arsehole, and no one has the right to make you feel so. I hope you have a wonderful wedding day, and as you walk down that aisle, know how strong you are. NTA. Honestly, I get both sides. He has tried to be the dad and sounds like the emotional connection never happened. That being said, I see why he would be sad and hurt that he is being absolutely excluded. I almost want to say, can you throw him a bone and do a separate dance with him? I do feel bad for someone who has tried so hard. I feel a bit torn. You say he's a nice man and he filled the role physically. I respect you lost your dad and you remember and love him. Maybe it would be nice if you could also show your stepdad in some way on your wedding day how his support helped you become the woman you are today. It sounds like he tried to be there in all the ways you needed. Obviously, I don't know your life from this one small snippet, so you are ultimately the one that knows what's right for you, and I wish you the best for your future. Nah, you can choose to have your wedding whichever way you are comfortable. But as a parent, I can understand why he would be upset. I think most people severely underestimate how much their parents have done for them until they parent themselves. It must hurt to know that the child you would die for doesn't really care too much. You're entitled to make any decision you want to, but you might find the consequences of that decision a lot harder to live with than you imagine. If you don't want him to give you away, fine. But if you don't want to torch the relationship entirely, I would recommend finding some way to acknowledge the place he held in your life. You can choose to ignore his feelings, but you might not like what comes from that. YTA. This man raised you, loved you, and offered to adopt you 5 times. It costs you nothing to make him happy. This seems weirdly childish and petty. You don't deserve him. NTA. I feel for your stepdad, but it is your day. Another option could be both your mom and stepdad walk you down the aisle. NTA, because it's your choice, but I feel really bad for your stepfather. It's not your fault or responsibility, but poor guy. Lost his wife and unborn child. Lost his ability to be a father in the future, and spent years trying to be accepted as one by the child he helped raising, just to be denied over and over again. He must really love you and your mother. Your feelings that you have one father are legitimate and valid. Completely understandable. But you are the only child that he got to parent, and I understand how it must hurt him to be rejected. I feel so sad for your stepdad. This is all around so sad. There is someone there willing to give you unconditional love, but your heart is not open to it. You probably never will be open to it, but I hope one day you are, because to have someone truly love you and you love them is really a lovely thing, and something some people can only wish for. It's in addition to your dad, not to replace him at all. But if you don't feel that kind of love for him and don't want him to walk you down the aisle, Then don't. Yes. It will send a message to the guests, but there's nothing you can do about that. It is what it is. You can't force love. Nah, but my sympathy is with your stepdad. He did everything he could and you just never opened your heart to him. My stepson likes to say he has multiple hearts. One for each of his 4 parents. Love is not finite. He isn't your dad, but he could have been special in his own important role. I get at 10 you're just a kid, but you really lucked out with him as a stepdad and it sucks he's being shown how little he means. Your mom married a man who treated you as his own and she's just protecting her spouse from the blow you're dealing. I don't blame her, but it is your wedding and you feel the way you feel. You shouldn't do anything that makes you uncomfortable. I totally get what you're saying and of course you are entitled to every feeling here. But it's also a little sad. I had a wonderful stepdad and my dad. I danced with each of them at my wedding. My stepdad was wonderful to me and it's okay to recognize your stepdad for the important role he has had in your life. Maybe you could have a dance with him to recognize that. I suspect your dad would have been happy someone so loving cared so much about you growing up. He doesn't have to replace your dad's love, but maybe you could allow him to be someone who just loves you like a dad. NTA. It's your wedding and you don't owe anyone a place or role in it. Nor do you owe your stepdad the place in your heart that belongs to your father. However, the hurt feelings of your stepdad and your mom, by extension, are fully understandable. He both feels the grief of his own loss and a sense of rejection from never quite gaining acceptance as a father. The public nature of the wedding undoubtedly does cause him shame and pain. This is a situation where not everyone can feel happy with the outcome. You, your stepdad, and your mom all have my sympathy.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.